Mr. Watson here, and in this video we are going to discuss attitude. So the nature of attitudes. Attitude is a set of feelings and beliefs towards someone or something. So quite simply, how we're going to start this, I'm just going to show you a few pictures, and I just want you to think in your head, or write down if you can write quickly, the initial feelings and beliefs towards the pictures that I'm showing you. So that was just quickly go through some pictures there, and then hopefully going through your mind are some initial feelings or why I might have chosen them particular pictures. We'll cover some of why I chose them pictures as we go through the video, but it's just about an initial introduction to show you that you'll already have some feelings and belief toward them pictures that I've shown you. Okay, so attitude is a mode of behavior that is thought to be the typical response of an individual. Now, I've put typical response in bold there because from the Hollander model in personality, which we've just covered, the typical response is just outside of that inner core, so not seen as a trait. So it is closely linked to personality, but not seen as a trait, but seen as a typical response and a behavior, and it can definitely be influenced by role models and the environment, the social influences, which we'll move on as we go through the video. So let's just start with our subject, physical education. Okay, so in physical education and recreation and sport, some people possess positive attitudes. This might be because they believe in the value of exercise, they enjoy the activities and have fun or enjoy competition, they're good at the activity, they experience excitement because of the challenge, they enjoy the physical sensations and the personal expression. They experience relaxation. It seems as an escape from stress. And you'll tend to feel that one more as you get older. It's definitely one for adults. Um, they see participation as a social norm. A social norm meaning that the behavior is deemed normal within a culture and created through a process called socialization. So we will come on to that a little bit more, but I'm sure you can kind of get the idea. Certain cultures um, promoting certain things, and it just the norm to do it. Okay, and if you do have a positive attitude towards physical education, towards sport, for the reasons I've just stated, it's more likely you will live a healthy, active lifestyle. Your behaviour will reflect that attitude, and no matter what equipment you have available, you'll find a way to be active because you see the value in it and you enjoy it. You have fun. Okay. Now, on the other hand, some people have negative attitude towards physical education. So they believe it's harmful or they are better off not doing it. They're worried about getting injured. They simply just dislike the experiences involved. They don't really like competition. Um, they lack the physical or perceptual skills necessary for success. They're frightened of the activity. Quite simply, they're frightened to get involved. They experience stress and anxiety when they participate, so that could be part of their personality. If they're a highly stressful person, they might see sport as a situation that will bring about more anxiety, so they don't want to go into that. So they see the social norm as being non-participation, so their behaviours are reflected from that negative attitude. Okay, so like I said, often associated with personality and it can influence behavior. So we're going to look at understanding attitudes. So an attitude is often directed towards an attitude object. Okay, so this can be a place, a situation, or the behavior of others. So I'm just going to play some clips here, and we'll get a look what it means. So here we have rugby, and in rugby there's a pretty good attitude towards referees, and you see the behavior of others. They're all standing listening. Okay. On the other hand, here we have football, and he's in the face of the referee. He's got a problem with that situation, and his teammates recognise it. This is about a situation. This is an away game in Belgrade. Some teams get drawn out against them in Europe, and this is the walk to the pitch. So some people have a particular attitude about going to this stadium because they fear it. Okay, so they have an attitude towards this place. So as you can see, it looks like an underground tunnel. As you can see, a very live atmosphere, be very intimidating. Okay, and you can also, we hear Nadal here, we know he loves clay.
With big topspin, and you know, when you have the confidence, of course, you have to play with topspin, but you can go in.
So he loves playing on the surface of clay. He has a very particular attitude towards this.
Reason why not? So it's about the personal moment that you have on clay. In my opinion, the beautiful thing about this phrase is you can play different ways and you can still have good success.
So there's just a few examples of attitude objects. So understanding you could have an attitude towards a place, a situation, or looking at the behavior of others. And I'm sure you can think of some yourself. So that's an attitude towards an attitude object. Okay, it can be a place, situation, or the behavior of others. Now, unfortunately, this can lead to something called prejudice. Okay, so what this is it's a predetermined view or opinion which may be biased. Okay, and it often links to then forming stereotypes. Okay, so attitudes are learned rather than innate, like I mentioned. They're not seen as being one of your traits. They're more a typical response influenced by socially or role models. Okay, so they tend to be judgmental. You make judgments, and sometimes you make this judgment without having the full information. So if an attitude is based on false information, it's unfair, and then it becomes prejudice.
I am Cappy Pondexter.
Diane Taurasi.
Sherry Nelson.
I'm Peekaboo Street.
And I got something to say.
Female athletes have to overcome the bias that their game isn't as good as the men's game.
Are boys bigger, stronger, faster? Yes. Is that all that has to do with being an athlete? No.
The half pipe doesn't care that I'm a girl.
I want to pitch for the Boston Red Sox.
And when I look in the mirror, I see an athlete.
I am a runner.
A snowboarder.
Ball player.
Triathlete. Softball player.
I am an athlete.
And I'm proud of that athlete.
It's not a girl thing. It's not a boy thing. It's a skills thing.
Black and African goalkeeper, that's different, so that's something different. It's not always easy for us because people already have image, of the African goalkeeper, especially the black one.
So there's just a couple of examples there, and the first one being gender. Now, there is in the news about the inequality in the wages, the viewing figures. People tend to have a certain attitude towards women's sport, whether it be women's football, women's rugby, or women shouldn't be playing rugby, they're not strong enough, that's a man's sport. This is prejudice. This is a predetermined view or opinion, and it's definitely biased. And the second one is race, being biased towards a particular race. And a common one, especially when I was growing up, I remember a couple of mistakes being made in the World Cup, and then there became this prejudice that goalkeepers can't be African or African American, and they're deemed not to be good enough. And this is a top quality goalkeeper here. And if you've seen in his interview, he said people already have this image, people already have this predetermined view or opinion, and it's definitely biased. So these are some examples of prejudice, and what we find is it can then move on to like expected behavior and stereotypes. So there is often enormous social pressure on people to behave in a particular way. And as we move through the psychology, there is a lot of pressure on athletes to be role models. And research has shown that others' expectations can lead to those expectations being fulfilled. So the expectation actually comes from someone else. So, for example, if I have high expectation on my Class A level PE to get good grades, it could motivate you to achieve more. However, it can stereotype and also influence the expectations. So there's many unhelpful stereotypes. For instance, the typical one, boys are no good at dance. Okay, and then what that forms is an attitude from boys in PE, I don't want to dance, I'm not good at it, but they actually haven't tried it. And that becomes from potential, back in the day, teachers not wanting to teach dance boys, or they'll be no good, or strength activities are less suited to girls, or black people are no good at swimming, white people are no good at sprinting. Okay, so these are stereotypes, and they're constantly being challenged, but they do persist and they do influence expectations. So if you are in PE, and some people will have a boys group in dance, and the assessment criteria will be lower because they don't expect much. So you can see how prejudice can then form stereotypes, and then all of a sudden this influences expectations. Okay, so it's very important as teachers, as coaches, as all individuals who try to promote exercise and sport, we must continue to challenge the stereotypes and the prejudice that results from them. Okay, and again, when we come on to the activities, I'm sure you'll think of some other examples of prejudice and stereotypes. So influences on attitude. So I keep talking about this socialization, social norms, how others can affect our attitudes. Okay, so socialization is the influence of others that may modify behavior and form an attitude. So again, I'm going to show you a series of clips, some good, some bad, about the different people in your life that can help in or have indirectly influenced your attitude. Okay.
Was a disgrace to the top that you are wearing. You got something to say, son?
No, nothing, sir.
Effort, zero. Attitude, zero. Sort yourselves out. Has anybody else got anything to say?
What are you going on about Matty for? What about him? Missed 3 tackles, gave away a penalty. He still says he's better than all of us. You're the disgrace.
Who gave you the right to act like that?
You did.
Also, each sport has a different culture, which further contributes to shaping personality. For example, traditional martial arts communities preach the values of honor, humility, and respect, and these values can become instilled in us.
And remember, this is about so much more than you. This is for the guys you're sitting next to, your brothers, and the 50,000 screaming out there in the rain. This is for your ancestors. This is for your country. This is for kids in need of role models. This is for the greats and the ones yet to come. This is for your family, the ones you hold so dear. The people that will carry your values forward, and those that will be here when you're gone. So what you do now and the decisions you make matter.
So this is just some examples there, and hopefully you could. There were some good examples and a bad example at the start, but hopefully you can identify who that social influencer is. So the first one was a sports coach, and in that case it was a bad example, and you can see how his attitude towards his players in a clearly a losing situation. He instilled that attitude in one of his players. He was also disrespectful to his teammate, but coaches being one. Second was the culture. So it was the traditional martial arts culture in China and how that can actually instill good values in terms of respect and honor. But the culture is that a lot will take up Taekwondo. Okay. Then we had parents. Parents play a big part. Okay. So obviously, as children are growing up, forming their personalities, they obviously spend a lot of time with their parents. So the actions of the parents and whether the parents are interested in sport can ultimately decide whether the child will have that same attitude towards sports. And I think as you get into secondary PE, you'll find that out. And something I've experienced as I've moved around the countries is that sometimes students will not care about their PE grade, or often they once did, but the parents, when they open their school report, will go straight to maths, English and science, and the attitude they pick up from their parents, so they actually don't try as much in PE, or they don't worry about not participating because they know at home they won't get in trouble for a lower grade or a remark about they haven't been participating. Okay, then we also had in there was celebrities and the media. So obviously we had Justin Bieber there visiting Barcelona. So these are heavy influencers, celebrities. So people that might not be involved in sport, seeing someone like Justin Bieber playing football can have a huge impact on young people participating in sport. And I know he's recently been in the media skateboarding, and the amount of people that will have went out and bought a skateboard the next day just because Justin Bieber had one will have been nuts. Okay, and then finally role models, like good athlete role models. And the last video there about the All Blacks kind of ties into, it shows they're a very successful team, but they pride themselves on particular values and playing in a particular way. And there's some top 10 rules about the All Blacks that you'll see on the internet. And it's just about, they like good people. So good people before the ability. It just so happens that they're also ridiculously good as well. But they do like working within a group of good people. And it shows how they inspire their culture in New Zealand. Big rugby playing, all the students are inspired. But what you could see from that video is what they're saying is that their decisions matter, because they're going to influence all of the young people watching them. So the attitude they display will influence and modify the behaviour of others. And they've modified the behaviour of New Zealand youngsters because they all love to play rugby. So that's our first video, just introducing attitude, its origins, the things, the nature of attitude, and then just moving on to things that influence attitude. So in our next video, we're going to be looking at how we can change attitude. Okay, thank you.